a few words about myself. That on AlphaGamma, I was working for several corporate jobs. I was consulting big corporations when it came down to marketing, rolling out new products, new initiatives in different parts of the world. And I was working primarily in organizations in media, in oil and gas, investment banking, and consulting. So, and eventually, after working for more than 10 years in the corporate world, so I decided to start working on AlphaGamma. It's a business portal for young professionals, and what we do is we create content that covers career tips, trends, and opportunities. We're focusing on content marketing, and by putting content out there, we're able to bring the attention of young people to our platform. So yeah, so we've achieved a few things as well. So we do have a broad range of partners on both sides of the Atlantic. So in the US, we're working with Rice University, with American Insurance Group, the United Nations, and we are helping them with promoting some of their initiatives, programs, or events. And we've designed a new way how to create content that eventually converts. And while executing these campaigns, we found a pattern. So I'm going to be talking more about the 3 principles that we designed when it comes down to creating an effective piece of content. So before I really jump into content and content strategy, I want to ask you how many of you know what content marketing is? Okay, so would you guys like to explain what it is?
Yeah, go ahead.
What my understanding is basically promoting your content.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
marketing it to the correct audience.
So creating content to market to correct audience. Okay. Did you have the same?
Yeah, it's sort of like your messaging. You have to find your messaging correct to the target audience. So it may vary, I guess, depending on your audience.
Right, right. So both definitions, they're kind of like there, but not really like touching the essence. So content is more like a vehicle of okay, how do you capture the attention, the intent of your demographic? But the core idea is that with content, you need to create curiosity, the interest for your product, for your service, for your initiative. So it's really not about talking, say, about your organization. It's really more about providing valuable insights, the knowledge, tips to your target when talking about your organization. So I'll show this dynamic like in details, because it's very important that, okay, why content marketing is relevant today, why it wasn't relevant 5, 10, 20 years ago. So, and in order to address that, I think it's important to look at some of the key trends, like market trends that we've observed. So the biggest one is obviously is that the millennial generation, so us, is basically makes up to 27% of the world population today. In the US, this is the biggest population to date. And that's why this is a very, very important demographic for corporations, universities, different municipalities and government organizations, and all of these organizations want to know, okay, how do we capture the intent? How do we how do we make them interested in this? In what we have to offer. Now, also because we're always like we are used to technology. It's not just social media, like e-commerce. Whenever we're looking up something online, we want to get it here and now. And because of this, the attention span is somewhat short. So the reason why the goldfish is on the slide is that the attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. But right now, the attention span of an online user who falls into the demographic, like into the age group from 18 to 35, is 8 seconds. So, and doesn't mean that people are having concentration problems. Is that we got accustomed to filtering out the information so well that it only takes us 8 seconds to make the right impression. So it's not about some kind of mental disorder or a lack of concentration. It more has to do that, okay, there are only 8 seconds out there for us to make an impression for an online user. So, and because big corporations, like some of them I mentioned before, like they realize the importance of going online and promoting, and targeting young people there, that this is pretty much how the battle for attention looks like. So it's an epic one, and just to illustrate you the degree, like of how big of a trend that is. Say a brand like L'Oreal in the Netherlands, they stopped investing into offline marketing completely. So they only do online, online ads, online content, video content. So they stopped doing offline completely. And there are more brands that follow suit because they see that eventually there's a huge potential online. Now, because of this, the internet has become a noisy place. Sometimes just because you can produce content doesn't mean you should. And I'll talk more about this. I'll illustrate this with a few examples further down the line. Another important dynamic is that we see that the banner ads have become irrelevant today. By the way, how many of you have clicked on a banner ad over the past 12 months? Yeah, no one, right? So, but you'll be surprised how many marketing agencies, they invest millions, like hundreds of millions of dollars into banner ads, and you can see that a lot of people are investing into banner ads. If you're just checking, we will check the revenue not just projections, but the actual revenues of Facebook and Google, and you will see that still, like, this trend is on the peak today. But we feel that so we feel that this is not we feel that this is a great opportunity to look at other ways to get the attention. And content could be the answer given the current market dynamics. How many of you have heard of the Operation Medbot, by the way? No? So I really encourage you to have a look at it. But the idea is that once, so a group of ethical hackers, that's important, so not just hackers, ethical hackers, so they did not destroy anything, but they just looked at some of the mysterious activity surrounding clicks, views on banner ads, right? So like Google ads, Facebook ads, Bing ads, and what they discovered was that there was about $3 to $5 million a day being wasted on fake activity, basically. So there are the algorithms there are some organizations, and I don't want to badmouth big organizations, but I was surprised to see them mentioned in that report, and it's public knowledge, so you could look up the names yourselves. But the idea is that those hackers were accusing them that there are algorithms that mimic the human activity. So eventually, so the summary is that once you will. The idea is that there is a lot of activity, lots of clicks, lots of views, but the actual engagement, number of applications or number of orders is zero. Then, how many of you have heard of Veritasium YouTube channel, or maybe you've seen this guy before? So I saw one nod there, so that's good. And so the idea here is that when it comes down to Facebook advertising, and we actually experienced this ourselves when we were working on behalf of the client, and also when I was personally involved in marketing initiatives and companies through Facebook. We discovered that there was really weird activity when it comes down to promoting your Facebook page. So once you say target specific people in the US, Canada, eventually the type of likes you get are from people from Afghanistan, Pakistan, North African countries. So normally you will get this type of clicks, those type of likes, only if you if you outsource this to a click farm. But what was strange is that you actually pay Facebook for that. So does this mean that their targeting is off, or who are those people who like your fan pages? So, and that was not only only this guy's discovery. It was also our discovery too. That when we were targeting, say, when we were just starting out with AlphaGamma in the early days, we just wanted to try out and capture the interest of young professionals in Europe. And most of the people from like anywhere else but Europe, they were targeted. So and that was consistent. So similar results were consistent in different projects, but in different organizations. That those likes were irrelevant. So which kind of makes question. Okay, if you pay for Facebook ads, okay, so what are you paying for exactly? And well, just to sum up these two slides, the one about the activity surrounding Google, Bing ads, and another one surrounding Facebook ads, that you get a lot of engagement, like in the form of clicks, views, but eventually, when it comes down to actual results, that for some reason they're ridiculously low, so almost zero. So. Okay, so why am I talking about all this? So I'm not here to talk about, okay, so these big guys, they're doing bad things. No, like the reason why we're talking about banner ads is that if these organizations need to mimic the activity, fake the activity, it just means that this model is broken. At least to us, it does. Then why would an advertiser invest money into this? We think there is a better answer to this. So, and we really found that with content marketing, you can actually reach more relevant people, and the quality will be just like the difference in the quality will be enormous. So yes, I've mentioned that the past methods are no longer effective. So let's move on and really like ask ourselves a question. So even once there is a banner ad, actually you joined us a bit later. I asked this question earlier. So can you recall the last time when you clicked on a banner ad? No? Yeah. So yeah, that was also the sentiment in the room as well. So yeah. So and and now we're talking more about, okay, so what are the other methods we could consider? So and even if you look objectively, why would someone check out your stuff if they have never heard of you before? So if they've never heard of your organization, of your product, of your movement. So it kind of makes sense if you look at this from a reader's or prospect's point of view. So in our case, in the way how we look at content is really about providing value first. It's less about talking that we exist, this is us, this is what we do. Come check out our website or follow us on social media. It's really more about, okay, so say if you're a university and you want to recruit particular type of student profiles, right? They want to attract a specific audience. Then you'll be talking about the market trends surrounding that. Say the career that those students can pick after they are done with studying, or they can pick, or say if you want to start an event and you want to get new attendees, you're going to be either showing the impressive photos, videos of your past events. If it's your first event, then we'll be really highlighting, okay, why this event is important. You're not going to be talking about why your organization is important. You're going to be talking more about the importance of your cause. And this is very different. So you see that the dynamic is very different. Like with banners, like with more, let's call them legacy approaches, like legacy methods. It's more about this is us, love us. But here you go out there and say, how can we help? So we know that this interests you, or this is your current challenge or pain point. So here's the remedy. And then once you kind of you want to offer these tips, these insights, then the question should be, okay, yeah, thanks so much. Like, by the way, what is that you're doing, or what exactly are you working on? So once this happens, then you know that I mean, only then you got the interest. Only then you created curiosity online. Once this happens. By the way, before I move on, does it make sense what I'm talking about? Okay, cool. So So I mentioned the principles that we were able to discover while working on content campaigns for different organizations, and the results were consistent regardless of the industry that we were involved with. So, and these principles are these. So it's content creation, content promotion, and content conversion. So I'll repeat. So it's creation, promotion, and conversion. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be talking in depth about each one of them right now. So with content creation, it really comes down to who are you targeting? So the first question should be, okay, how would we describe the profile of a client, of a prospect? So who are we targeting in the first place? And this question should be asked even before, like, do we need to go into content, or do we need to, like, write articles or produce videos? It's really about, understanding your customer, your prospect, and the best way to do it is to really create like a brief profile. Say, so it's not rocket science, so it should be really basic. You need to look at and understand the prospect from his or her point of view, and see, okay, so what are the interests of that person, right? So depending on the service or product that you're offering, what is on their mind every single day? What are their interests? Where do they come from? Where they would like to go? So these elements, I would say interests, the background, are critical, because then once you have this, you'll be able to capture their intent online. So that's why this step, I know it's like a basic MBA course, right? So like understand your customer, but we were surprised how overlooked this step is, and even when dealing with well-established, well-known organizations, this step for some reason gets overlooked. And I must say, as a young organization, so we turned like 3 years old. We became 3 years old this August. We also had to crystallize this profile for ourselves as well. And actually, I'm going to bring also one of the examples, like why we're calling ourselves business program professionals today, and not any other ways. So once you've designed, like you have the outline for of your prospect, of your client, then it's time to think of a content. So, but your content, because now we know that content, like the internet is a noisy place. There is very little attention span. So online users will allocate only 8 seconds to understand what you have to offer there with their content. So that's why your content has to stand out, and like stand out for real. And and even if we look at this statistically, I mean, those were little jokes there, or attempt at humor. And but if we're talking more in numbers, then how many of you have heard of the agency called WordStream? Okay, so in the US, this is the biggest growth marketing agency. So they manage large budgets on behalf of Fortune 500 companies, and they manage their online products, online campaigns, etc. So, and they've done some research on content marketing as well. And I must say, our results, like what we've discovered over the past 3 months, so they confirm that this graph is true. So the idea is that, so this agency coined the concept of unicorns and donkeys. Unicorns being that single content piece that drives millions of visitors, signups, views, etc., depending on your KPI. And donkeys are obviously those content pieces that don't make it. So, and it's the job of a marketer today, especially the one who deals with content, is to make sure that whatever content piece you produce is on the left side of that graph. However, so there are different schools of thought on this. So some marketers think, okay, like it takes so much time to discover the best performing content piece. Let us just produce hundreds or thousands of content pieces and eventually capture the lower tail, like of the market. So both approaches work. The question is, so how much time you have, how patient you are, and eventually how long-term your strategy is. Because content marketing is definitely, it's not an overnight project. So once you plan content and content strategy, then it should be for content strategy for years. And but for organizations, the ones that that are building legacy, like say universities or events that happen on a regular basis, or corporations, for example, that offer product that has say that's not seasonal, that's going to be out there years from now, they'll find it, for them it makes a lot of sense to consider content marketing. So that was the first part. That was the first principle. The second one is content promotion. So once you decide that godlike piece of content, the one that attracts, so you identified your perfect audience, the content piece that made all your colleagues in the office say wow. Then then the next step would be, okay, so how do we get it out there? So then comes down to the distribution. So what kind of distribution channels online are out there? And while it sounds so intuitive, okay, young people are online, they're on social media, let's go there. But you'll be surprised that this is just a small fraction of all the online channels available where people gather. So, and I had to crop it out. So technically there will be like a huge unreadable pie chart. So, but the idea is that once you know the interest of the young professional, once not just interest, but background, then you can pick the right distribution channel. So so you just to sum up the past two principles is first you're creating the content and then you're picking the distribution channel. Another question is, okay, which ones to pick and how. So but before I'll address this, I wanted to mention this case. How many of you have heard of Cambridge Analytica case? So it was a huge, so this case made huge buzz at the beginning of this year. And so for those of you who haven't heard of it before, the Cambridge Analytica is a political ad agency, and what they're accused of, that they bought the Facebook profiles of Facebook user profiles, basically, and based on the interest of those Facebook users, they created and manipulated politically biased content. So allegedly, these campaigns were so successful that they were able to influence the elections in different parts of the world, and because this agency has been around for years, again, so the reason why I mentioned this case is that this case is an attempt to really look at content from understanding the intent of your target profile. So first, they looked at the interests, interest backgrounds, and then they tried to tailor and provide content that matches that background. And again, so it is a matter of trial and error. So when it comes down to testing different distribution channels, so it's important to consider the timeline. Say if you're producing your content, then you need to do this over an extended period of time. You can't just share it once or post it on the forum or on an online board, and then if you don't get a response right away, interpreting it as if it's an effective channel. You need to do this consistently over an extended period of time, say a month or several months, to see, okay, whether it makes sense to continue with this channel, and not just with one channel. So it's so there are marketers who say, okay, just stick to one channel, but why stick to one channel when the marketing environment changes so dramatically? So you really need to sorry. So you really need to be on top of the game and pick not just one channel, but say 3 to 5 channels, where you can try and experiment on a consistent basis, and also pick the timeline. So in our case, when we were working, and we are working on content marketing campaign, we look at a time frame of minimum of 3 months, 3 to 6 months. So it's perfect. Technically, it's possible to achieve results within 1 month, But when it comes down to, and we were able to do that, so I'm gonna be showing cases when we were able to achieve, like extraordinary results, within like tight time frames. So it is possible, but these campaigns are definitely extraordinary. So normally it takes like say 3 months, because once you have a content piece out there, you need to tailor it. So speaking about this part, it leads me perfectly to the third principle. It's content conversion. And so what we mean by that is that once you do you need the slide? Yeah. All right. So once you have the content, you pick the right channels, then you need to track track that content piece. And so some of the tools here are some tools that we use, but we've tried like hundreds of different tools. We eventually had to even create some of our own, because we couldn't find the ones that fit perfectly what we want. But these are like some good starting points for sure. And so, but it's not just like once you track content, you really need to not just track it and then look at it like once every quarter. You need to monitor this market feedback like rigorously. Say if it's it can be like weekly or by twice a week, but it's really because it's such a dynamic environment that you can really get the market feedback quickly, and then you can even make those modifications to the content like right away. So but still, while you're making those tweaks, right? So you're making short-term tweaks to the content, but you're making a bit like mid-term to long-term tweaks to the distribution channel. So this is also quite important, that you don't change all the variables, like you don't modify those principles like immediately, because some things like they're easier to fix and they are you're in control. Say that's the market response, and then iterating on the market feedback. And then this is something you, as a marketer or as an entrepreneur, as a manager, can do immediately, but you still need time to collect the market response, and so you'll be able to make a definite conclusion whether this concept or this channel works. So, and once you do this, like it's really about adapting the content so you could eventually get the right users. And really, it's very important that when we're talking about content, you might think of BuzzFeed, Upworthy, these type of organizations that produce so-called viral content. But what would you do, like if you're not about kittens and celebrities or memes, right? So how do you promote this type of content? Well, that's actually the good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. So so you don't have to be promoting entertaining content to be relevant and to get to attract the right audience. What's more interesting, and this is something what we're able to achieve, and we saw it's possible, it's achievable with content, is that you'll say have maybe 100 views, but out of those 100 views, you'll get 10 applications or 10 submissions. This is far more superior than to have say 1 million of views and then have just 10 applications. So that's why with content you can, yes, it doesn't have to be necessarily millions, but of views, clicks, whatever. But it can definitely get you to get to target the right people online. So just to sum up real quick, so it's the principles are content creation, content promotion, and content conversion. So while you're working at it, right? So once you're applying principles, there are also two key ingredients that are important. So once you're executing upon each of those principles, and it's as straightforward as quality and consistency, really. So once you're producing whatever you do, so be it identifying the profiles of users online, or if it's about picking the right channel, you really need to like whatever step you make, you need to do your best at it. And then, and with consistency, what I mentioned, I briefly touched upon it, like when I mentioned the distribution part, but also with content. You need to also, like, instead of just having one content piece, it makes sense to have like 3 to 5 content pieces, because then in this case you have enough data to validate your assumptions, whether your messaging is right or off. So that's why, again, quality and consistency are key success ingredients when it comes down to working with content. Now, some of the case studies. So we have been working with different organizations. So I want to mention a bit more complex products and complex services. So that's why I want to bring a few examples of us working with universities. So for example, we worked with Stockholm School of Economics, based in, this is one of the well-known schools worldwide. They're based in Stockholm, but they had a dilemma. They wanted to roll out a new program. So I mean, this school is known for grooming high-quality economists, hardcore finance professionals, but not entrepreneurs. And now they wanted to roll out an entrepreneurship program. So, and they were surprised that with their efforts, they couldn't get the right attention. So they came to us and asked for help. So we helped them. So we tweaked and modified their content piece a bit. So this is the final one, which generated the more than 600 applications in less than a month. So like within 4 weeks time frame, and we also had to tweak certain things. So within that month we had to actually we had to make tweaks like one major tweak after 2 weeks within the campaign, because we saw that the initial approach wasn't working. So it was actually the approach recommended by them, but we decided, okay, let's make it shorter, let's make it like fun, let's talk more about the benefits of the program, not just about the school, and it yielded the results. Another example is Rice University. So this is one of our partners as well, and you might know, say, if you're into entrepreneurship, you might know that they have the biggest business plan competition on this planet. So we've so they have like this year they had a prize fund of $2 million, and this way they're attracting. They want to attract international founders and eventually candidates to join their school. And we helped them so we worked on this campaign for 6 weeks, and we were able to generate 350 applications for their school. Then another university is called Emlyon Business School. So it's the biggest private school in France, which is focusing on business. And they had also a different challenge. So they have all the knowledge, they have all the insights, they have some of the best professors who produced lots of reports, research, but they don't know how to market them. So and they wanted to get more people to join their master's in entrepreneurship program. So we told them, hey, why don't you pack all your insights into a guide? So that's why we produced the ultimate social guide to guide to social entrepreneurship. So, and this bad boy generated €500,000 euros in sales over the course of 2 months, and this way, like, they're able to attract really those people who are researching and looking up social entrepreneurship, and eventually those people who were into social entrepreneurship, they eventually applied to pursue the degree with that school because they perceived them as a thought leader. Then again, you don't have to be a school or university to be able to sell complex products, obviously. So we have so this is a Dutch company. We're based in Amsterdam, by the way. So this is a Dutch company that wanted to offer its tool that values companies. So it's like a company valuation tool that they designed. And they wanted to get more premium subscribers. So in this case, we helped them with creating a widget. So it's an interactive widget. So it was part of the article. Once you click on it, then a pop-up window show. So there's a window popping up where you will be asked a few questions about your business, about the type of organization that you run, and then at the end of it, you'll get before you get the valuation, you will need to register with them. So this way, so we ran a campaign for several months with them. So they generated more than 300 leads, and out of them, 15% converted. So and it is a premium product as well. So and mostly people who converted, and actually based on the results, they also realized that their initial goal was to encourage more founders to use this tool. Eventually, those organizations that were buying these tools were corporations and venture capitalists. So those who were valuing the company, but not the founders. And that's why they changed and that's why they started offering a premium service. So it's not just so it is a much higher price tag. So we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, not about $10 a month kind of price tag. Oh yeah, and I mentioned briefly why business portal for young professionals. In the early days, we were calling ourselves business portal for millennials, because we thought this way because millennials, the media constantly bashes our generation, and it almost has become a derogatory term. What we've noticed is that say for older generations, whenever we ask them, do you know who millennials are, or we introduce ourselves, they immediately understood what we do and what we're all about. But when we asked, say, my contemporaries, we're business for millennials, the first question that we got asked was, am I millennial? So then we realized that we should not be doing this kind of educational work. We should be more focusing on the interests instead of of the age gap. So so as you can see, so these are two brief slides from our brochures. So the one, well, besides the font, so there are two things that are different. Yes, the font, but mainly it's the tagline that's different. So, and we also changed it on the website. So literally, we made just one tweak. We literally did it Control F, for search, and then we looked up where we need to replace the our former tagline. We replaced it with business portal for young professionals, and then boom, this happened. So we've and instead of getting 1 to 3 queries a day, we basically increased it 10 times. So it's just about that little tweak, to the content, to the tagline, that made all the difference. We didn't make any other changes besides that little tweak. So, and that's why, with content, it's really about making those tweaks that are eventually effective. So it's really less about flashy design, hiring a celebrity to do brand endorsements. It's really about finding the right people who you want to target and find the right message that would resonate with them. And content is just the means of delivering the message. So yes, so since we're talking about content marketing, we as an organization, we started pretty much by accident. So it was a personal blog of mine. So because I'm more into finance, I worked in investment banking, in financial consulting. So it's less about media. I worked as a journalist for 5 years when I was 15, but I always knew that I want to have more hard skills, and I really enjoyed that. But because of this, because finance industry is very conservative, I really wanted to find a way to transmit and broadcast my ideas, and I thought running a blog would be an effective way to do so. So what happened was that I made the AlphaGamma Go live. I produced some content pieces, and I just shared them on within my immediate network. And those content pieces just went places. Within 24 hours, we got thousands of visitors. And then I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Then I did it again and again, and within, say, after doing it for 10 times, then I realized, okay, maybe there's something bigger that's being addressed with this type of content. And so eventually, now I have a team of 7 people working on AlphaGamma. What we are doing is that we're actually finding those type of content gaps. So we're able to find, okay, what makes young people tick, and then we are creating content that eventually resonates with them. So, and this way now we reach 1.5 million people every month. So we're still learning. We're still, it's still not the end, but we see that within the current environment, online environment, that this approach works. And as long as we exist with this approach, then it's kind of an indicator how well this approach is working. Now, yeah, so these are just some figures. Again, I'm gonna share all those slides with you later. So, but these are just the figures just to prove the point of how big we've become. And this is a quick summary. So when it comes down to content marketing, it really comes down to this. It's really about offering value, offering help through content first, then finding the right medium where your target audience is, then making sure that you do this consistently and over an extended period of time, and then the results would follow. So if you actually got interested, like if the topic of content marketing got you intrigued, especially those who are not familiar with content, then I would recommend you to look into our guide. So we created a guide like the best content marketing practices. So these are just some of the ideas that we used and we use also in our campaigns, and we also used when we were working with our partners. But there are more than 50 of them. And so it looks like this. So there are pointers, there are explanations why these ideas and why these ideas work and what kind of ideas don't work. Another, if you got fascinated by the concept of like unicorns and donkeys, so this is so these are the slides so Larry Kim, the founder of WordStream, was kind enough to allow me to share his slides, and so this is an extensive pitch deck. So you might get even more hard data on why content is relevant today more than ever. Then, because I mentioned Upworthy earlier today, when it comes down to creating viral content, so I'm not talking about the content itself, but what we found fascinating is the editorial approach to creating viral content. And so the editorial team at Upworthy has uploaded their slide deck on SlideShare, and this is quite interesting to look at. Okay, well, how these guys produce viral content. And there are some really interesting steps, like like for example, when you're working on a content piece, then before you come up with a headline, you need to produce like 24 really bad ones, like crappy ones, but then like with the 25th one, there's going to be like the one sent from the heavens, and there's going to be the one that will be performing the most. And though statistically they still argue that it's like out of they also present the same chart, like a similar chart to the donkey and unicorn one, that eventually there are going to be a handful of those top performers, but it eventually takes time. Even with these approaches, it takes time to find the winner. And also we got asked a lot about, okay, like since we're talking about content, what about the video? And so in our opinion, video is really more of an art. How many of you have heard of Dollar Shave Club? Okay, so for those of you who haven't heard of it before, just watch this little clip. So they're commercial, and in our opinion, this is how viral marketing should be done. Probably if all the commercials would be like that, we'd all be poor and with lots of useless junk. But this is how you like in our case, like when people talk about someone mentions viral marketing, video marketing, this is how it should be done. And they went places. So they got acquired by Unilever. It's a major Dutch conglomerate. So for $1 billion, and we even profiled them on AlphaGamma as well. So go check them out. And also, if you really are into like reading and want to explore these topics more, so from this little library here, I would recommend you to look at the first 3 books. So when it comes down to understanding the human psychology, like the reader's psychology, the user psychology, and also about the explanations for why these market shifts are occurring. So like I really recommend. So if you're really into that, I recommend you the first 3 titles. The rest, other books, are more into embracing the entrepreneurial mindset, because it's gonna be a bit painful if you are doing content marketing for the first time on your own. So it's almost like, you know, it's similar to emotions that that entrepreneurs are going through. I can attest to that, because this is like the organization that that I and my co-founder were running. And so yeah, it does feel like so. Like once you're working on the content and you know it's not working, or you know for some reason, and you need to make tweaks, or for example you didn't think it's going to work and it's just working phenomenally well. So these are the books that will encourage you along the way. So yeah, so this concludes our little presentation today. So yeah, I'm gonna share the slides, the recording of the seminar afterwards. So yeah, so right now we have about like 10 minutes for the Q&A session. So yeah, thanks so much. So maybe there are any questions that we could address right now. So we have some. By the way, we also have online. Oh yeah, so we also have online followers as well. So let me look up if we have any. Okay, we have something here. All right, chat. Okay. All right. So while we're waiting for an answer for an answer there, so yeah, please.
When you create content, how do you get it out to someone who's obviously you're not advertising? How do you get it out to people who are not following?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm also going to be repeating the question because I have the mic here. So, so how do you promote content to people who are not already following you? So yes. So that's why, for example, instead of promoting content within social media where you already have a following, you would be looking for either content, because say content is also visible not just on social media, but you can also get it seen like through search engines, for example. Another way is to also leverage knowledge sharing platforms like Quora, or back in the days Yahoo Answers was kind of an alternative. I think it still is, or Reddit. So where people are asking, asking for feedback on a specific organization product, and then so there are other like forums where people gather, and it's really about promoting content within those forums, and that's why like this strategy is effective, because you're not talking about your organization. So your article, your content piece is going to be talking about the marketing side, or that solution that you offer, but it should be written in a way that explains why this problem exists, why it's relevant, and why and why. Yeah, so basically you kind of give them tips on how to solve maybe the first few steps, but for the rest you kind of make them you need to wait and make them ask for more. So to sum up, so it could be a forum, it could be like online forum, it can be like a discovery platform similar to Reddit, Quora. It can also be you can be also writing guest posts on that topic that your organization covers. So you could find an already established podcaster, blogger, like YouTuber, and volunteer as a guest. So and share and share your insights there. So there are definitely ways. So the question is, how do you extend your reach beyond your immediate network? But you still, and that's why with content, when we say content, it's more about producing those pieces, those content pieces that are less about your personal updates. So you're not saying, oh, like what a shiny, sunny weather on campus today, right? Or or look at our happy students, etc. I mean, these are amazing posts, but they will not. They will not capture the attention of those who you want to target, especially those who have never heard of you before. But this will work more effectively when, for example, you're promoting an event. Like on campus or within your organization, and there you'll show the photos of sunny campus, happy people, etc. Because then it will create the excitement that people who have never heard of you before, they will get. But it was a long. I know it was a long answer, but Yeah, was it spontaneous? Okay, cool. Thanks. So, any question? Any other questions? All right. So let me check. Yeah. Yeah.
And apologies if I came in late, so you may have already answered the question, but through AlphaGamma and what you're putting together, like for example, with institutions or any of your clients, are you walking them through the steps and then they are doing the steps, like running their own social media, running their own campaign once they work through content with you? Or is that something that you and your team manage for the organization?
Right. So actually can do both, but we don't have to. And I'll explain is that with the content, so we do produce content, but we also have our own audience, and our audience perceives us as a source of authority. So we don't work with whoever offers us money. We don't work with them. So literally, like before I flew to Charlotte over the weekend. So on Friday, like we received about 17 proposals. So from different organizations like insurance companies, like gambling companies, all of them, they're willing to pay whatever money we're going to ask but the problem is that it's not about the money, because the reason why people trust and why we have this following is that we're good at curating the partners with whom we're working. And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, everyone's doing due diligence, right? Whenever it's out there, like probably whenever you're hearing of the first restaurant, the first thing you do, you Google it on your smartphone, check Yelp, and if it gets less than 4 stars, then it's highly unlikely you're gonna go there. So it's the same psychology, like with your target audience as well. So they're going to be doing a background check on you. And for example, if there's like, so if an organization comes to us and says, we want to hire new people, and we check the organization, they have a 2-star rating on Glassdoor. Well, then we can't help them. So we could help with spreading the message, but we can't reform the organization on behalf of. And we can definitely highlight certain aspects and reframe the story that organizations are missing, and it's very easy to overlook, like especially when you're an established, well-known brand. But it's so easy to get lost in the mundane daily tasks that eventually the main reason why people love your brand, company, product gets lost. And I'm pretty sure, like, without mentioning the names, you can think of a few examples of companies that are like that. Nevertheless, yes. So we do we're creating content that eventually it's featured on AlphaGamma. But this way, it's an opportunity for organizations without risking their reputation, kind of test the perception of them. But of course, we're also picky. We can't work with every single organization that already has a bad reputation. We can't fix the reputation. But yes, so we do both. All right. So let me check real quick whether we have an online question as well. Let's see. All right, cool. Yeah. All right. So it seems that we're all set. Then, like before you guys leave, so could you raise your hand if you learn at least one new thing today? All right. Okay. Perfect. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you.